and welcome. Tonight, the nation waits with bated breath as the Supreme Court fixes tomorrow to deliver judgment in the appeals by the PDP Labour Party presidential candidate challenging President Tinubu's election. House of Representatives to investigate financial interventions in the power sector since the commencement of privatization of the industry. And cheery news for families of fallen heroes of the Nigerian Armed Forces following the approval of 18 billion naira payments of the group life assurance benefits for them as the president launches the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Fund.
On business news tonight, federal government mulls implementation of excise tax on foreign exchange transactions conducted outside the country's official forex market.
And from Abuja, 2 bills seeking to ban Central Bank of Nigeria governor and deputy governors of the bank from taking part in partisan politics has second reading in the Senate.
And in international news from London, Israel has denied a visa to a top UN official in a growing row following comments from the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres.
Nigerians will tomorrow know the outcome of the legal tussle over the 2023 presidential election result. This comes as the Supreme Court has announced that it would deliver judgment in the appeals by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, the Labour Party, Peter Obi, challenging the result of the February 25th election won by President Bola Tinubu. The Director of Information of the Supreme Court, Dr. Festus Akonde, confirmed the dates to journalists today, 2 days after the Apex Court reserved judgment in the appeals. Both the PDP and LP had on Monday argued their cases before the Apex Court, while the appeal by the Allied People's Movement and its presidential candidate, Chichi Ojei, was dismissed by the court after counsel to the party withdrew it. The Presidential Election Petitions Court had on September the 6th dismissed the petitions of both parties for lack of evidence. Mr. Atiku Abubakar's notice of appeal had canvassed 35 grounds contending that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal erred in law. According to him, by the evidence before the court, INEC conducted the election based on grave and gross misrepresentation, contrary to the principles of the Electoral Act 2022. And also, he asked the Supreme Court to set aside the whole findings and conclusions of the Petition Tribunal on grounds that they did not represent the true picture of the grounds of his petition. Mr. Obi, on his part, filed a 51 ground of appeal before the Supreme Court seeking the nullification of the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court and the election of President Tinubu, also praying the court to set aside the judgment of the tribunal. He maintained that the 5-member panel of the tribunal, led by Justice Haruna Samani, carried out a miscarriage of justice against him when it held that he did not specify polling units where irregularities occurred during the election. And the House of Representatives is to investigate all the financial interventions in the power sector since privatization of the industry. This followed a motion by Honorable Ademorin Kuye on the need to determine whether the funds were judiciously utilized. Meanwhile, lawmakers today rejected a motion to compel JAMB, WAEC and NECO examination bodies to register students for free in the 2023-2024 examination by the body. Our National Assembly correspondent Terry Kumi reports.
Wednesday's plenary session in the House of Representatives commences far behind the regular schedule. As lawmakers delve into the business of the day, their attention turns to the power sector amid concerns that since the 2013 unbundling of the Power Holding Company of Nigeria, trillions of naira have been pumped into the power sector by the federal government and international donor agencies with no significant improvement.
The World Bank, which approved an International Development Association credit to the tune of $486 million, aimed at upgrading the wheeling capacity of the Nigerian electricity transmission grid, including the rehabilitation and expansion of transmission substations across the country.
The House mandated Committee on Power to investigate all the financial interventions in the power sector since privatization, with a view to determine whether the funds were judiciously utilized and report back within 6 weeks for further legislative action. Next, lawmakers debate a motion to compel JAMB, WAEC and NECO examination bodies to register students for free in the 2023-2024 examination exercise as a palliative measure following the removal of fuel subsidy.
The House is also aware that one of the major challenges of the low-income earners any parents is the education of their children, particularly in payment of examination fees.
These statutory charges like WAEC, NECO, and so on should not just lie exclusively with the state governments or the local governments. We also at the National Assembly level and the State Assembly level also have an obligation to also contribute in our own little way.
I want to add that all members of the National Assembly should adopt a school and pay for the JAMB or what? Yes! You see, Mr. Speaker, this is what we are not doing.
The motion is then rejected, following an amendment by a lawmaker.
I do not know if we have the authorities to compel somebody that is not under your control. WAEC is not for Nigeria alone.
Those in support of this motion, that this particular motion should be stepped down, should say aye. Aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it.
Similarly, the House stepped down a motion on non-compliance with extant laws in implementing presidential palliatives and the National Social Investment Programs for further consultation. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Stakeholders in the power sector are urging state governments to leverage the new Electricity Act by investing in the critical sectors of the power value chain to drive energy security for industrialization in their states. At a roundtable on the Electricity Act in Abuja, the industry players, who were brought together by the Nigeria Governors Forum in partnership with the United Kingdom's International Development Office, submitted that the states could not continue to rely on the central transmission grid that is now overstretched. Our correspondent, Dele Omoyeni, has more.
On the 8th of June 2023, President Bola Tinubu signed into law the Electricity Act 2023, which opened up the sector for more subnationals to participate in the power sector. As you can see. Following the move, the Nigeria Governors Forum is working out modalities to broaden the participation of states in the various value chains of the sector, from generation to distribution.
The Electricity Act 2023 represents a significant milestone towards achieving a stable, reliable, and efficient electricity supply for our people. It provides a legal framework for private sector participation in the generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity. We're often told that the amendment of the Constitution and the signing of the Electricity Act 2023 opens the subnational electricity market. To stakeholders and players in the industry, this makes perfect sense. This is going to be a flagship project of the Forum, and it will be designed to facilitate the development of sustainable, competitive, and diversified subnational electricity markets in the country.
The British government is pledging their continued support for the country, as Nigeria cannot develop without power.
This is the time to explore new opportunities to scale up electricity delivery to more Nigerians, which we have already recognised the importance of. We need to give primacy to ways to promote expanded renewable integration, both on and off grid. Nigeria gave fantastic commitments to COP26 and to the future of its power sector. This forum will help Nigeria deliver those commitments. We also need to find ways to connect the dots between the power sector and inclusive growth. Nigeria's prosperity depends on getting the power sector right.
Enugu State is the first to domesticate the Electricity Act, and it's seeking investors in the sector.
Enugu State's plan is to be one of the top 3 investor-focused locations in Nigeria. And to do that, you have to make sure that you have a constant supply of power, reliable power, and also to encourage the market where they feel like the power arrangement is governed by a process that's both constitutional and also has the right policy backing it.
Now, stakeholders at this roundtable have agreed that no matter how much power is generated, the challenges are with transmission and distribution. Therefore, following the Electricity Act of 2023, states have to invest massively in transmission and distribution. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, has written to the Minister of Finance, Olawale Edun, urging him to direct the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, to remit the sum of $34.2 billion to the Federation account. In a letter dated October 24th, Mr. Falana recalled instances where the monies were said to have been remitted by the NLNG to the NNPCL. He notes that the sum, totaling $34.2 billion, was received on behalf of the government of Nigeria from the NLNG between 2004 and 2021. The human rights lawyer maintains that he would not hesitate to initiate legal proceedings at the Federal High Court for the immediate recovery of the said sum from the NNPCL if the finance minister fails to direct that the money be remitted to the Federation account. And a disc jockey, DJ Ajisegiri Ayobami, today told a Lagos coroner magistrate Adedayo Shotubi that the late singer Ilerioluwa Aloba, famously known as Mohbad, died after he was administered an injection by a nurse. Ayobami, who claimed that he was with him on the day he died, also testified that Mohbad vomited the noodles his brother had earlier prepared for him before the medical treatment. The witness further told Magistrate Shotubi that the previous day they went for a show at Ikorodu, and on their way back, their Prado Jeep was blocked and Mohbad came down from his Jeep to find his friend Prime Boy, and then he got injured. He also stated that although the wound was a small cut on his hand, but by the time they got home at midnight, the hand was already swollen. Also testifying, Mohbad's mother, Mrs. Abosede Aloba, told the coroner's inquest that her late son was supposed to be a pastor, according to a prophecy, when she gave birth to him. She said she didn't know that her son was a musician until she and Mohbad reconnected in 2019 at Ayobo after she left him with his father when he was 3 years old. In part two, after the break, students of the Federal College of Forestry, Oyo State, protest what they term invasion of their hostels by armed operatives from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Tuesday. That's in a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. The nation waits with bated breath as the Supreme Court fixes tomorrow to deliver judgment in the appeals by the PDP and LP presidential candidates challenging President Tinubu's election. House of Representatives to investigate financial interventions in the power sector since the commencement of privatization of the industry. Cheery news for families of fallen heroes of the Nigerian Armed Forces following the approval of 18 billion naira payment of the group life assurance benefits for them as the president launches the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Fund. And Israel denies visa to a top UN official in a growing row following comments from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The federal government is assuring residents of communities in Ifo and Obafemi Owode local government areas of Ogun State, as well as communities in Ikosi, Sheri local council development area of Lagos, of a permanent solution to perennial flooding in the area. The assurance came from the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsev, and his environment counterpart, Dr. Ishaq Salako, after a working visit to the flooded communities in Isheri North, accompanied by Governor Dapo Abiodun. The ministers also announced the plans to commission a comprehensive study of the affected areas and come up with immediate and long-term solutions to flooding in the area.
From the perspective of the Federal Minister of Environment, first thing we are going to do is to immediately commission a comprehensive study of this place so that we fully understand what we need to do, what we need to do with Ogun River. And I'm sure my brother, the Minister for Water Resources, will also support us. What do we need to do with the dams? How do we ensure that we expand our drainages and lift our roads? And then also our people will change their habits and be more environmentally responsible. To ensure that we do not build on floodplains, to ensure that our drains are cleared, to ensure that we properly dispose our wastes. These are issues that are key if we are supposed to live in harmony with the environment.
We are providing solutions for flooding with the entire Nigeria, not only in Ogun State. We have gone to other states and we have visited Ogun now and we have seen what has happened and has been happening. We are believing that by the grace of God, a solution has come. This has been happening in other places. We have visited and we have provided solutions to some of these challenges around the country. This is not going to be a difficult one. We are going to surmount the challenge and we'll overcome it. I want to assure the people of Ogun State and the Lagos people residing within this terrain, within this environment, within this community that we are leaving those stone unturned to try to see how we can provide solutions to this.
Governor Abiodun, on his part, reassured residents of swift state government's intervention, but warned that some buildings on the water channel will be demolished.
In the course of, our driving around, we saw some buildings that were actually built on a channel that's meant to channelize the Ogun River into the lagoon. Such buildings will not stand. We are going to immediately embark on how to increase the level of the arterial roads. Believing that once we do that, that is why Engineer Kisa is here, the only commissioner for works. That itself will form some sort of embankment that will reduce the chances of, the flooding and the effect of flooding. Our drainages, we also saw drainages that bodies of water in those drainages are just stagnant. They're not flowing to anywhere. So some buildings may have to give way so that the drainages can become earthfalls where water will fall into. Again, like the minister said, we're going to now have a committee of us as government and yourselves, and also the federal government, so that you also have representatives in that committee that is taking a decision on what we're going to be doing here.
Away from the flooding situation, students of the Federal College of Forestry, Jericho Ibadan, took to the streets in the city today to challenge what they described as an invasion of their hostels by armed operatives from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on Tuesday. But according to the anti-graft agency, its operatives were at the college on a routine verification exercise in respect of a surety when the students descended on them. Meanwhile, the acting provost of the college told Channels Television that the EFCC operatives did not follow due process during their visit.
The piece associated with the Federal College of Forestry, situated in the Jericho area of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, was disrupted by these protesting students of the institution. According to the students' representatives, the resistance came about as a result of the visits of some EFCC operatives to their hostel on Tuesday.
One thing is, in terms of constitution, it is not allowed for either a uniformed man with ammunition to go into the school. Firstly, we need to condemn the act, the unprofessionalism of the security force. And it's a satanic act, because whereby men in uniform are coming with ammunition into a campus that is sacred. In totality, we are condemning that act as an association.
Yes, they came to our school without no reason, without no intention. and they shot over 200 bullets to our students. We have evidences of these bullet cases with us till now, and we are raising our voices up for justice. We are calling for justice. We have over 10 students that were injured.
From the campus, the students moved to the EFCC office to also register their displeasure with the conduct of officers of the anti-graft agency when they visited the school. Meanwhile, the EFCC, in a statement by its head of media and publicity, says 7 of its operatives went to the school on a routine verification exercise to confirm the address of a shortee for a suspect in its custody. But the men were attacked and held hostage by the students, a claim management of the school denied.
They talked with these people, they talked in a very civil manner. They made them realize that their approach was wrong, that they were supposed to, first of all, approach the management. And they agreed, and they were ready to apologize to the students. The students only had one demand, that, okay, we will let them go, that they will walk out of the compound while their vehicle. So while this was in process, while they were supposed to walk downstairs and walk to the students who had already gathered in front of the administrative building, started hearing gunshots. Apparently, they had already mobilized their colleagues from elsewhere who came in, shooting at our gates and shooting at our students. Eventually, they were able to make their way out of the crowd and they left.
In the meantime, the college has been shut down indefinitely while investigation into the matter is ongoing.
Let's head to Abuja studios now, where Nota is roaring to go. Hi, Nota.
Hello there, listeners, and thank you for staying with us. Welcome to our studios in Abuja. The president says the country owes a debt of gratitude to her gallant troops who have risen to the challenge of securing the country. President Bola Tinubu stated this at the brief ceremony in the council chamber at the presidential villa to launch the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Fund. He also announced the approval of 18 billion naira for the payment of the group life assurance benefit for the families of the fallen heroes of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Our State House correspondent, Lanre Lasisi, reports.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, service chiefs and top government officials are here for the emblem appeal launch for the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day, taking place in the council chamber of the State House. President Bola Tinubu is presiding over the ceremony, the first since he assumed office.
Emblem launch for 2024.
The Minister of Defense outlines the significance of the occasion, which recognizes the contribution of military personnel to the peace and security of the country.
Regrettably, some of our gallant officers and men have paid the supreme sacrifice in the line of duty. Many as well have sustained varying degrees of injuries that have incapacitated them.
January 15 of every year is a day set aside to mark the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, marking the end of the Nigerian Civil War. The President considers the date as a reminder of the price paid for the unity of the country.
As the beneficiary of that sacrifice, we have an obligation to guard that unity jealously and sincerely.
He also recognizes the effort made by the armed forces to ensure that normalcy returns to previously insecure parts of the country.
I have approved the sum of 18 billion naira for the payment of the group life assurance benefits. Benefits and other entitlements to the families of service members who lost their lives in line of duty.
The national chairman of the Nigerian Legion then takes time to decorate the dignitaries, starting with President Tinubu.
This kind of gesture that has been shown today will go a long way in allaying the affairs
that the people and the government will be with their family no matter what situation they find themselves.
That they are breadwinners. This for us is significant because it tells us that we have not been forgotten. And then it also serves as a morale booster to those of them that are still in service, that whatever it is that happens to you, the nation is solidly behind you.
The emblem is a symbol of remembrance and the sacrifice of our military heroes. Putting it on identifies with their patriotism and their sacrifice. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasese for Channels Television News.
Well, the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, says the present administration is providing an enabling environment for the growth of the agricultural sector in Nigeria. According to him, there are ample opportunities for investors to invest in the agricultural productivity in the country with the federal government's renewed focus on food security. The Vice President stated this while addressing guests at the 2023 Norman Borlaug International Dialogue in Iowa, United States. And still to come on the news at 10, an iconic building rises in Lagos, courtesy of Famfa Oil and its sister company, Dayspring Properties Development Company. You join us again. Thank you for staying with us. To the National Assembly, where two bills seeking to ban the governor of the Central Bank and deputy governors of the Apex Bank from participating in politics has passed to second reading in the Senate. The Senate passed them after the consideration of two similar bills sponsored by Senator representing Kogi West, Senator Sunday Karimi, and the Senator representing Abia Central, Senator Darlington Wokocha. Our State Senate correspondent, Gloria Umezoke, reports.
The second day of plenary began with the swearing-in of Senator Amos Yohana, representing Adamawa North Senatorial District. He is representing Senator Elisha Abu, who was removed by a pronouncement of the Court of Appeal. Amending the Central Bank Act shortly became a subject of intense debate. The senators considered the amendment bill, which proposed, among other things, an enlargement of the board of the CBN, an insulation of the CBN from partisan politics, real-time control and effective monitoring, as well as the prohibition of foreign currency in domestic trade relations.
I'm proposing that Section 9 be amended further, that will ban the CBN governor and his deputy from participating in politics when they are in service.
The behavior of the immediate past governor of the bank was not as a result of legal loopholes. It was absence of governance. And even the Senate was also unable to assert, to find the courage to assert its oversight responsibility. What we need is not new laws. What we need is the will to enforce laws.
Today, as I'm talking to you, our Naira is virtually in tatters. The Naira is exchanging in the parallel market for 1,260 or 70. That is not acceptable. And so if there is any way that we can, by legislative intervention, strengthen the machineries of the central bank to act appropriately in their regulatory position or roles, I think we should encourage it.
Two bills are referred to the Committee on Banking to report back in 2 weeks.
The senators also sought an amendment of the Cybercrimes Act 2015, first read on October 18, 2023.
This bill seeks to address all anomalies that has hindered the effective implementation of the Act.
We can see how our national data will be protected. In most advanced countries, their data goes with their economy. So we are trying to build one here. Almost every one of us have the national identity number. Our national identity number can be stolen.
A motion on the need to activate the Muhammadu Buhari International Airport, Maiduguri, for international flights was also considered. The Senate concluded plenary with the resolution that the Inspector General of Police direct the Kaduna Commissioner of Police to launch an investigation into the death of Ms. Grace Silas, a corps member killed on October 18 in Kaduna State. From the Senate, Gloria Omezuke, Channels Television News.
And that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Millicent. The rest of it is at 10.
Thank you, Nelta. In a move to bolster the socio-economic development of Lagos, Nigeria and the continent, Dayspring Property Development Company has unveiled the iconic Centrepoint. Aptly referred to as Africa's premier workspace, Centrepoint is 103 meters in height, comprising office spaces, owner-occupied office spaces and multi-purpose hall, each with a dedicated wall, a pointed entrance at the ground floor, among other features. The building stands out as an edifice majestic enough to grace skylines such as New York or Tokyo. Our correspondent Terry Giga reports.
Situated in the heart of Ikoyi, this is the iconic Centrepoint. The magnificent 20-story building is surrounded by the lagoon and avails guests a breathtaking 360-degree view. Little wonder it has attracted the Lagos State Governor, who is here for the grand opening. In Jesus' mighty name. Guided by top executive directors of Fanfa Oil, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu tours the facility alongside the CBN Governor, Yemi Cardoso, Chairman and Vice Chairman of Fanfa Oil Limited, Modupe and Folorunsho Alakija, captains of industry, CEOs and MDs, and other high-profile personalities. With the tour done and dusted, guests gather at the multi-purpose hall on the 8th floor. In their remarks, executive directors of Fanfa Oil, Dele Alakija and Rotimi Alakija, highlight the essence of the masterpiece.
This magnificent structure is the embodiment of international collaboration, transcending borders and cultures to create a center of excellence unparalleled, not only in Nigeria, but across the African continent. We have come to witness the unveiling of what is nothing short of an architectural masterpiece, a welcome addition to the ever-evolving skyline of Lagos. Like every iconic building that has etched its place in our minds, there's a great story behind its creation. The mandate of Dayspring Properties is to bring international standards of property development to Nigeria.
For the Lagos State Governor, the luxury facility fits perfectly with the administration's drive for economic prosperity.
We're indeed excited that Lagos continue to receive all of this great investment. We'll continue to see that people believe in all of our own modest challenge, all of our own modest attempt to make this place a lot habitable for us, to make sure that Lagos continue to remain home, and a place where businesses can flourish, where businesses can thrive, and where we all can come together in peace, knowing fully well that we're in a safe and secured and sound environment.
And what is a grand opening without a gigantic cake? Meanwhile, Vice Chairman of Fanfa Oil Limited, Apostle Folorunsho Alakija, is confident the high-profile building will attract investors all around the world.
I thank God that today it has become a reality, and we're all alive to witness it. Investors will say that with a building like this, they're sure that Nigeria is definitely opening up for more business because it's an attraction. They'll want to continue to do business in Nigeria. They'll want to expand their businesses. They'll want to bring more investment into the country because it's all about development.
Centrepoint says The 103-meter-tall building has a gross floor area of approximately 55,000 square meters and built with an economically prosperous future in mind.
One of Nigeria's leading financial institutions, First Bank Nigeria Limited, has announced the launch of its third fully automated branch, the First Bank Digital Experience Center in Abuja. The managing director says it is designed to cater to the growing and evolving needs of consumers, enabling customers navigate the digital landscape with confidence. This initiative, according to him, aligns with the bank's commitment to delivering exceptional customer experience and staying at the forefront in financial innovation.
Make hay while the sun shines, they say. That is what Nigeria's premier financial institution, First Bank, is doing on this sunny day as it marks another feat in the self-service of its customers. It's the commissioning of the First Bank Digital Experience Center in Abuja.
From the Digital Experience Center, our customers will be able to conveniently and seamlessly transact all manner of banking transactions in a world-class facility that is ambient, in a world-class facility that is modern and sleek.
Congratulations to all of you. Managing Director commissions the First Bank Digital Experience Center, the third of its kind after the ones in Lagos and Ibadan. This is followed by a quick tour and a demo of how customers will experience cutting-edge technology in their banking experience at the center.
The primary reason why our institution has remained a constant feature, a dominant feature in the economic landscape, not just of Nigeria, but the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, is our people, our customers, and our commitment to continuously redefining who we are to ensure that we remain relevant and dominant. And this is just one of the manifestations of that continuous improvement.
With this Digital Experience Center that we've just opened today, one of very many that will be opening over time, services at the customer's fingertips, at their convenience, when they want it, how they want it, and at the speed of light. We've built in every single thing that the customer can expect from banking services. We've built in things that the customer didn't ask for because we're an anticipatory brand.
Commissioned and ready for service, customers queue to take advantage of the new facility as First Bank promises to put more smiles on their faces by providing more digital experience centers in other parts of the country, Sulest.
It's now time for business news. Here's Anne Waldo.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. The federal government says it is considering the implementation of excise tax on foreign exchange transactions conducted outside the country's official forex market with the aim of discouraging multiple exchange rates. The chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, who made this known today, explains that the recommendation is designed to address pressing economic issues, including exchange rate management, the impact of fuel subsidy removal, as well as rising inflation. The proposal is one of the 20 recommendations presented by the committee, which was established by President Bola Tinubu to evaluate and provide guidance on reforms aimed at shaping Nigeria's fiscal policy and tax system. Meanwhile, Economic Think Tank and Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprises has commended the first phase of recommendations made by the Presidential Tax and Fiscal Policy Reform Committee. However, the CEO of CPPE, Mr. Muda Yusuf, says there is need for more insight on the implementation framework. Mr. Yusuf says that the committee needs to step up stakeholders' engagement on key areas of fiscal policy, tax policy, foreign exchange policy, and trade policy. He also explains that this move is imperative to ensure the realization of the desired outcome by the committee. The West Africa Capital Market Conference 2023 has begun today with the theme Infrastructural Deficit and sustainable financing in an integrated West Africa capital market. The two-day event, which is the largest gathering of capital market policymakers, brokers, and other stakeholders, is jointly hosted by the West Africa Securities Regulators Association, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the West African Capital Market Integration Council, WACMIC. Let's head to the stock market now. It reversed the negative territory today at the close of midweek trading session. The profit-taking pulled back the total value of listed equities at the close of trade today by more than 6 billion naira. And John Mekwa has the details. Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, it's a red day today. 22 stocks posted gains, 18 stocks declined. It's a positive market breadth, but the all-share index dropped 0.02%, very marginal. We almost got through it. 67,206.16, and the market cap is still at 36.9 trillion naira. That's because, the drop was just so marginal, almost unfelt in the market. Now, let's look at the counters to get the story. The big guys lost today. UBA lost 1 naira 15 kobo. GT Co lost 45 kobo, while Zenith lost 20 kobo at the close of trade. So, well, not surprising, I guess. Banking flourished the day before, so profit-taking sets in. It's down more than 1%. Oil and gas is also down at the close of trade. Eternal Oil had that coming. And then you have Dangote Sugar and Nigerian breweries and all of that brought down the consumers' goods 0.16%. The activity chart is mixed, but like we always say, it doesn't hold a lot of information, especially when you look at the value there, 4.41% in the red. So it's a bear day today. We still have that positive market breadth. Maybe we should hang on to that hope, but the bear is rejoicing. And that's Business News for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Anne. President Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel is preparing for a ground invasion of Gaza, but won't disclose when it will happen. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israel has denied a visa to a top UN official in a growing row following comments from the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres.
I shall be going to Cairo.
Martin Griffiths, the Under-Secretary-General for Humanitarian Affairs, has reportedly already been denied a visa, with UN officials likely to receive the same fate. With other UN officials likely to receive the same fate.
I am shocked by the misrepresentations by some of my statement yesterday in the Security Council.
It's after Antonio Guterres said the Hamas attack on the 7th of October didn't happen in a vacuum, something Israeli authorities say equates to justifying the atrocity. Pope Francis has renewed his calls for the release of hostages held by Palestinian militants and for humanitarian aid to be allowed in. Meanwhile, Israel continues to bombard the Gaza Strip, with the Hamas-run health ministry saying almost 6,500 people have now been killed in the strikes. Hospitals in the area are stopping all but emergency services as fuel runs out.
We've just run out of almost everything. Yesterday, a lot of the times we had very little electricity. And the killing continues.
Poland must use all methods possible to access frozen European Union funds. That's according to the opposition leader Donald Tusk, as he went to Brussels to resolve rows between Warsaw and the EU that have led to the cash being withheld. Tusk, who is likely to become Poland's next prime minister after a group of pro-European Union parties secured a majority in an October the 15th election, is aiming to gain access to billions of euros the EU put on hold due to concerns about judicial independence under the previous nationalist government. At stake is Poland's access to 35.4 billion euros in grants and loans from the EU's Recovery Fund.
This purpose today is to rebuild the position of my country in Europe and to strengthen the EU as a whole.
Workers at a South African mine have begun to resurface after being held underground for 3 days in what police are calling a hostage situation. Hostage takers armed with weapons like clubs and mining tools had held more than 500 miners at the Gold One mine. The miners were trapped amid a dispute between two trade unions. The National Union of Mine Workers said hooligans had held its members against their will. Cyclone Hamoon has moved into southeastern Bangladesh, bringing with it heavy winds and rains that battered hundreds of houses and left at least 3 people dead. Thousands of trees were uprooted, while houses built with corrugated sheets were destroyed by the power of the storm. Power supply and internet connection remained down as of Wednesday afternoon, and road links to many of the towns near the main city remained blocked. The Seoul Metropolitan Government has conducted a crowd control drill ahead of the 1-year anniversary of a deadly Halloween crush, showcasing an AI-backed program designed to detect and alert potential overcrowding. The early warning system will start on Halloween and will comprise of 909 CCTV cameras that will analyse crowd movement and density and alert authorities for signs of danger. The trial run of the system was conducted at a busy and narrow alley of bars and restaurants in Seoul, where 150 volunteers crowded into a 30-square-metre area. A complete lack of preparation and crowd control measures were blamed for the disaster in the same area a year ago, where a crowd surge led to the deaths of 159 people. And Britain's King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla have hosted a royal reception at Buckingham Palace ahead of their visit to Kenya. The royals met guests including film director Gurinder Chadha and actor Nitin Ganatra, who are both of Indian heritage but were born in Kenya. Various artefacts and photos were also on display, including a photo of Charles meeting former Kenyan President Jomo Kenyatta during a visit to the country in 1971. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Super Falcons of Nigeria have held Ethiopia to a 1-1 draw in the second round, first leg of the women football qualification for Paris 2024 Olympics. Berke Amari put the Ethiopians into the lead in the 5th minute before Rasheedat Ajibade equalized in the 52nd minute at the Abebe Bekela Stadium in Addis Ababa. The return leg holds on Tuesday, October 31st at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja. That's it on Sports News. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Supreme Court today fixed October the 26th, 2023, Thursday, as day to deliver judgment in the appeals filed by the PDP and LP presidential candidates, Mr. Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Peter Obi, challenging President Bola Tinubu's election victory. And that's your news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.